know how it works. So I'm just also checking on if everything works on the YouTube channel. I think everything is working. That's good. At least it's live streaming. So then a wonderful welcome from beautiful Vienna, as you can see here. Well, sorry, the other side. I'm located in Vienna, in the core, in the center of beautiful Europe. And I want to say a heartily welcome to everyone who joined us today. And I would like to share a couple of slides with you to start with. Just see if everybody has joined properly. Because we are quite a big group of people already. So please let me share a couple of slides that I prepared just to summarize what we have been doing the last couple of weeks. I'm just putting myself in the spotlight so you can see better what I'm presenting now. So as you know, my name is Philipp Reinisch, and I started the initiative actually back in 2016. What most people don't know, I have a very technical background, so I am more a tech guy than anything else. And in 2016, the underlying question was, what happens if you take modern technology to an extreme? And equipped an old, actually it was a sidecar with different IoT components or Internet of Things components. And I was traveling around Europe for 2 months with this old sidecar. And then the question comes up, okay, but what happens if you really leave your own comfort zone? I'm just muting the people here. So what happens if you leave your comfort zone and if you take your high-tech motorcycle to a more, how to say, adventurous environment? And so I found a couple of partners, and then all together we set up a high-tech motorcycle, and we drove all the way from Austria to China and back on this high-tech motorcycle. And along the way, it was a great opportunity to meet super interesting and inspiring people. And then after my return, our partners, we all said, why not continuing this kind of journey and continue traveling together along the Silk Road. The idea was great. The timing was, let's put it mildly, slightly challenging. As you may know, in April and March 2020, that was actually the original idea of traveling together. Coronavirus struck, so it was no way of really traveling together. But we started our learning journey in a virtual reality environment in 2020. And then we virtually traveled all the way from Vienna to Munich, via Zurich to Paris, via London to Dublin, Amsterdam, Brussels, Berlin, Warsaw, via Prague to Bratislava. This was everything done virtual. And then we moved to different concept once everything was possible again and traveling was possible again. We had some hybrid events. Having said this, also the quality of our gatherings has improved. So actually, with all this combined knowledge that we had, we used the European Asian strategy to have something like a roadmap of topics that we are going to discuss. And in the past, we had already 6 different topics related to the European Asian strategy, and today is production industrial cooperation. But before I want to go into the details of today's event, I just want to give you a short look into what we did in the past. So these were the offline meetings that had an online component. So wherever we went for the last 6 months, we tried to have some kind of offline in situ gathering as well. And just having an outlook, and then I'm very slowly coming to the end of my introductional slides. The next year is dedicated to Central Asia, and it's not a coincidence, but it turns out that actually Istanbul is the city very well known that has two parts. It has a European side and an Asian side. And so that's why in the preparation before the YouTube streaming started, we were joking about season 2. I think everybody knows Netflix nowadays. I think that's one of the things that in the Corona crisis, everybody got to know pretty well. And now it's a season 2 of Silk Road 4.0 coming up. Today is the last episode of the season 1. Essentially, we were traveling all around Europe, meeting exceptional people, and most of them really also interested into the Silk Road, and all of them outstanding experts. And next year, that's what we are currently working on. For those who haven't joined our delegation from the very beginning, this is actually how everything looked like at the very beginning when we started in September 2020. So we teamed up with Virbela, a virtual reality environment, and they provided and supported us with a 3D environment. And just to give you a short reminder of our virtual reality events that we had back then in end of 2020. It was actually very entertaining. Technology has improved since then. So we did have here and then some slight technical issues, but I'm in very close contact with the colleagues from Virbela. And the idea is now to combine all these components that we had, the offline components, the online components, the virtual reality environment, and this whole community of experts related to the Silk Road into one package. So that's a rather extensive introduction to Silk Road 4.0. And before I continue with our today's agenda, I just want to welcome a couple of very outstanding persons that are joining today. Professor Richard Griffith gives us a big honor to join today. For those who don't know Richard, he's the director of the new Silk Roads research project at the International Institute for Asian Studies, the IIAS in Leiden, Netherlands. Hi, Richard. Great to have you with us. And he wrote, I learned actually 4 books, not only 2. The Maritime Silk Road, China's Belt and Road at Sea. This is how I found him. In the Way of the Road, the ecological impact of infrastructure, the new Silk Road, and revitalizing the Silk Road. And Richard has a PhD from the University of Cambridge. And he is also a very knowledgeable scholar, everything related to the Silk Road. So it's really amazing to have you with us today. Also, I see that Xiahua Yang is joining us. That's really an outstanding honor as well. Xiahua Yang, she's a professor and director of the China Business Studies Initiative, the CBSI, at the University of San Francisco. So for those who know, it's a very reputable university, well known for their MBA program, and she's teaching at the School of Management. And Dr. Xiahua Yang is a tenured full professor of international business and is the founding director of China Business Studies Initiative, as I said, in the School of Management. And she has taught and lectured in the USA, Australia, China, Taiwan, and all over Europe. And she's a specialist in the internationalization of Chinese firms, international R&D strategy, strategic alliances, and foreign market entry strategy. So, Xiahua, it's a real pleasure to have you with us as well. And actually, the list is very long. So Diana Moyes, a speaker, Jens Bastian, it's also great to have you here with us, and all the others who are joining. I have to say, sorry from 2 persons who are unable to join today. One is Professor Hassan Al-Daja. He's also a frequent visitor and member of our delegation. He's the associate professor of the Al Hussein bin Talal University in Jordan, because he's actually close by, more or less. He is in Thuringia in Germany, in Jena, to give a specialized lecture on the theory of intellectual security. I thought this very interesting. So I thought I want to share it with you. So just if you're interested, yeah, you know probably how to reach out to him. And the second person, and this is amazing, Sudhir Kavilvalapil, he joined us from the very beginning. He just changed position, and he's now the global transformation lead for professional development at McKinsey Advisory. So I'm so happy that he changed into this highly reputable position as well. So having said this, I don't want to continue talking, but I want others to talk. And it's amazing to have such a great group with us. And yeah, I would like to welcome also Professor Kosenka Dumancic. She is an associate professor of the Faculty of Economics and Business. And she's the Vice Dean for International Cooperation and Project at Faculty of Economics and Business in Zagreb. And she's currently in Uzbekistan. So I can see, or you mentioned you're in Tashkent, Kosenka, right?
Yes. Hello. Hi, everybody. It seems that I travel more than you, Philip. So hello, everybody. It is my pleasure and my honor to send my greetings to all of you from Tashkent, Uzbekistan. As Philip told, I'm a Vice Dean for International Cooperation and Projects at the at the Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Zagreb, and I'm also a head of very young Institute for Eurasian Studies. So it was my great luck, I can say, when I had opportunity to host Philip and his team this summer. So it was the episode 2 of this first year of this series. So it was my pleasure to host him in Croatia, not in Zagreb, but at the Island Kirk. And that is how our joint travel began, in fact. So it is my pleasure to meet you all. And I will be with you together this night. Here is 10. It's 10 in the evening, so 10 p.m. So I will be with you until the midnight. Thank you all.
Nice to having you with us, Kosenka.
Thank you, Philip.
So let me try to show you the route, because we're traveling from Athens actually to why it says Bucharest to Athens. It's actually from Athens to Istanbul. And I would like to welcome for one also our co-moderator Don Lewis. Don, great to have you with us today. And before we jump into the content, so to say, why is Harvey not joining? Because Harvey is also a trusted source of inspiration for our group. But unfortunately, he is not able to join tonight. And he sent a video because he is now speaking at the Peter Drucker Forum. For those who don't know, Peter Drucker is an Austrian, and it's a very famous forum here in Vienna. And he sent some video greetings. So just to let you know.
I'm really very sorry that I can't be with you on your journey to beautiful Istanbul. I was first introduced to Istanbul in about 1997 by my neighbor, who was the Turkish ambassador to the UN, and who later became my neighbor in Istanbul as well. And since that time, I've seen the remarkable changes that Istanbul and Turkey have realized, especially in this century. It's a dynamic country that's really come into its own in the last several decades. So it has a rich history, as Umut will tell you, and as you probably know. I'm really sorry that I have to be at the Peter Drucker Forum here in Vienna. Peter Drucker, the management consultant, is Austrian. And so I wish you my best. I'm looking forward to watch the replay and to learning from the speakers and from all the good questions that will come in. Good luck and good night.
Yeah, and now we are coming to actually the topic of today. And I want to say also a big welcome to Yildiz, who is supporting with the organization. Yildiz, it's great to have you with us. She's the founder and managing director of the Society 5.0 Institute. Her specialty is smart society, a topic that I really love, and the adoption of technological advances. So Yildiz, great to have you with us.
Thank you, Philip.
More.
Thank you for your invitation. Hello and good evening to all. First of all, as Society 5.0 Institute, we are very happy for partnering for this event, since we believe that SILKROAD 4.0 platform and Society 5.0 Institute are very complementary initiatives. SILKROAD 4.0 is an exciting initiative for us, enabling partnerships for goals, which is 17th of UN Sustainable Development Goals. You know, we have very important issues on our table, and we can only achieve these goals through collaboration. And discussing how we can solve some common problems of the Silk Road countries, focusing on digital technologies, is parallel to the central theme of Society 5.0. Society 5.0 Institute, on the other hand, was established in Istanbul, Turkey, 2.5 years ago as a think tank. And since December last year, it continues its journey as a social entrepreneurship based in London, UK. If I try to define Society 5.0, I can say that it's a vision aiming at utilizing the latest technologies to solve sustainability problems with a mission-oriented approach. And it also brings a holistic approach to digital transformation for ensuring social cohesion. And as Society 5.0 Institute, we are promoting this vision as a methodology to contribute to social, environmental, and economic sustainability. We are examining the best practices all around the world, carrying out some international projects and developing policy recommendations. Coming to our main discussion topic today, what Europe can learn from China and China from Europe, I can say that Digital Silk Road initiative offers valuable lessons and win-win collaboration opportunities for both sides. As you know, Digital Silk Road aims to improve digital connectivity among the participating countries, and it doesn't only cover Silk Road countries, but also European countries as well. When we look at the investment numbers, we see that among the biggest recipients are Germany and Italy. And China, as a leading actor in cross-border e-commerce, has a lot to offer. Particularly, Chinese experience with cross-border e-commerce comprehensive zones set an excellent example for Europe on how cities can deliver development goals through mission-oriented approach. These zones are also very good examples of how we can utilize the latest technologies with a Society 5.0 vision. Plus, they serve very well to UN Sustainable Development Goals. I was lucky to work with my Chinese colleagues on SILKROAD China-Turkey pilot e-commerce project. And under this project, I paid a study visit to one of these comprehensive cross-border e-commerce zones in Chongqing. And I was totally amazed with how the system is working on the ground. When we look at this Chinese example, we see that these zones are designed as a one-stop shop digital aggregator for SMEs development. They provide basically everything an SME can need for cross-border e-commerce, covering information sharing systems, online financial services, intelligent logistics, economic facilities such as e-commerce credit system, credit evaluation, data monitoring, and risk management. These services are available for all companies, but especially for SMEs in terms of cost reduction and resource management, because they enable SMEs to access to finance, markets, and services. Setting up these zones was an innovative policy tool for Chinese government to hit two birds with one stone. Designating several Chinese cities and regions as cross-border e-commerce comprehensive zones, China not only strengthened its position globally as a cross-border digital trade actor, but also contributed to sustainable development of those cities and regions by creating new jobs, increasing foreign direct investment, and economic welfare. This mission-oriented approach had also beneficial side effects, such as further integrating Chinese SMEs into the global supply chains, enabling entrepreneurship, supporting women's economic empowerment, and improving digital trade-related services such as logistics, payment, and finance, including fintech. While Europe can learn from China's experience with cross-border e-commerce comprehensive zones, China can learn from Europe how to better design sustainable digital transformation. Europe's digital transition goes hand in hand with European Green Deal, and we can say that European actors are indeed successful at developing innovative business models to ensure going green through digital. In that respect, European Union's new Industry 5.0 policies and European initiatives like Green Digital Coalition offer potential for cooperation between European and Silk Road countries, including China and, of course, Turkey. As a Society 5.0 Institute, we work on these specific issues and will be very happy to further discuss and study them with the SILKROAD 4.0 platform. Thank you for your attention and see you again during the panel discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Yildiz. Great to have you with us. Yeah, so just to let you know, like always, the links, the LinkedIn links, so that you can reach out to all the people that are speaking or part of the group. I posted it in our chat here. And this leaves me just one person from the core team to introduce, Don. It's also, like always, great to have you with us. And you also prepared, as always, some very interesting insights as an entry into today's discussions. I just make a spotlight on you. You can start anytime when you're ready. I think you want to share the screen for some slides. You prepared 2 maps.
Yes, well, thank you very much for that, Philippe. Yes, I will get to the slides shortly. But again, it's wonderful to have collected together such an illustrious group of scholars, business leaders, and the like, government leaders. As we all know, we've arrived now in, or at least virtually, in Istanbul, Turkey. And the topic for this evening is the digital Silk Road meets production and industrial cooperation. As Yildiz has just mentioned, the broader question that we always have on our minds is, what can the West learn from the East and the East learn from the West? And of course, this includes very centrally both Europe and China. Our location, again, our country in the spotlight is Turkey. It's a fascinating country, truly a cross-cultural bridge and nexus where Europe meets Asia. I mean, looking at Turkey, one might consider the Bosphorus as a kind of physical metaphor where one might say that by crossing over the Bosphorus, one is in fact leaving Europe and stepping into Asia. From now on, at least for Eurasia, the remainder of our Silk Road 4.0 journey eastward will take place mostly in Asia. We are saying farewell to Europe. Turkey itself has been a central logistics hub for trade and commerce connecting Europe and Asia for hundreds, if not thousands of years, certainly dating to the Middle Ages and stretching back to the Bronze Age and indeed before. In recent decades, Turkey has made great progress in modernization and industrialization, and now produces a diverse range of goods for European and global markets. The country is ideally situated on the doorstep of the EU to provide a host of incentives to foreign firms seeking access to affluent Europe. Turkey is also increasingly active in Asia. Turkey is an official and important member of China's Belt and Road Initiative, or İDAİLU, also BRI. In particular, Turkey and China have been gearing up production and industrial cooperation, an important element of China's BRI for the last few years, which has accelerated recently with the opening of the Trans-Caspian or Middle Corridor. The Middle Corridor is to a considerable extent Turkey's conception, but it counts among its members and partners Romania, Georgia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, and China, among others. It connects up with BRI's rail-based Eurasian land bridge. Now, I have provided a slide here. On the Middle Corridor. Can you all see that?
It's it's in preview mode. It's not in full screen.
There we go. Oops, that's
Yes.
the wrong slide.
Yeah, it's a second slide now.
There we go. There's the first slide.
Yes.
So this shows you comprehensively the entirety of the Middle Corridor, and you will see that. Whoops. That going the wrong way now.
So the Middle Corridor, in contrast to the Northern Corridor and the Southern Corridor. So the Northern is Russia, right?
Yes, that is correct. So to return to the screen here, yes, the Northern Corridor is it's not shown on this slide, but it does cut across Northern Europe, Russia, into Europe proper, and to Duisburg and Rotterdam. And then there is also the Southern Corridor, which is largely excluded or bypassed as a result of this construction of the Middle Corridor. The fascinating thing about the Middle Corridor is that it is intermodal, and that it involves both rail and sea transportation. The sea transportation includes crossing the Caspian Sea and also the Black Sea, going through the Transcaucasus, and then also Istanbul, transiting to Istanbul and through the Bosphorus and Dardanelles into the Mediterranean, and through two avenues, including through the port of Mersin in the south. So this is a major development and very much puts Turkey in the spotlight. So I now may move to the second slide. This involves the trade zones, Turkey's foreign trade zones, of which there are 21 in total, and very importantly, trade zones, a number of trade zones in Istanbul, but also in Izmir, and as I've just mentioned, in Mersin, these being particularly important ones. Now, as can be seen from the slide here, these zones are associated, or many of these zones are actually in Istanbul, but there are zones that are associated with major ports, and they can also be found along major rail arteries, including the Middle Corridor. Turkey's zones offer very generous investment and tax incentives to foreign firms and have attracted many leading Chinese companies such as Huawei and ZTE in the digital sectors, and others in renewable energy technologies such as solar. It's also interesting to observe both Turkey and China have opted for free trade zones for economic development purposes dating back to the early 1980s. In this regard, one can recall, and indeed they're very, very relevant to this day, China's special economic zones such as Xinjiang in Guangdong province. But Turkey has its own zones and they perform many of the same functions. So with that brief background, I'll pass the baton back to Philippe to introduce our distinguished keynote speakers for tonight. Back to you, Philippe.
Thank you, Don. Thank you for this brief introduction about the framework of what we are speaking today. And I would like to pass on now to the next speaker, Umut Özdemir. For those who are following us for a little bit longer, Umut was also a keynote speaker in a previous event, and he is an expert from Turkish Ministry of Culture and Tourism, and he was working for the UNESCO, if I'm not mistaken, as a specialist for the historic Silk Road. I think it was 3 years or a couple of years that you were working and living in Paris, was it, Umut? You're still muted? Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Actually, it was an temporarily secondment at UNESCO headquarters. It was just 1 year. I worked for 1 year. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I can start. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be with very distinguished participants for this very important event regarding the historic Silk Route and the logistic and digitalization, economic factors, etc. Let me introduce myself briefly. As Mr. Philip mentioned, I'm working about the related Silk Road issue generally in my ministry. I am an art historian. Actually, I am not an expert regarding the logistic, digitalization, and the transportation issues, but in my presentation, I will try to my best with the help of some numbers. Actually, we were planning to host Mr. Philip in Istanbul for this event, but unfortunately, due to some technical issues, we canceled it. But maybe next time, we will be happy to welcome you in beautiful Istanbul city. In my presentation, let me share it. I'm going to focus on Istanbul city, the importance of Istanbul on the Silk Road in terms of historical and cultural. And I think you can see now, right? No problem, right? Okay.
It's we only see the desktop. Now it's opening. Yeah.
The first slide you can see now?
Yeah, it's now full screen. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, yeah. Okay, good. So in my presentation, I'm going to mention about the mainly historical and cultural importance of Istanbul city on the Great Silk Route, and also I'm going to mention about some data about the importance of Anatolian Peninsula and Turkey on the Silk Road for between the East and West, as you mentioned, Mr. Don. between the continents, and also we can add this maybe Africa and the Middle East. Very strategical and important geographical position Anatolia has. So I'm going to mention about some issues regarding the Belt and Road Initiative and the free zones, like Mr. Lewis mentioned. Yes, firstly, let me begin a legend regarding the founding of Istanbul. According to the legends, Bizas, who was the great Greek colonist from the Dorian city of Megara, was trying to find a new colony place. And he consulted the oracle of Apollo at Delphi. The oracle instructed Bizas to settle the opposite of the land of the blind. So he was looking for this place, and he reached to the Istanbul and this area, and he saw some people was living in the Chalcedon on the other side, and he decided they must be blind because they couldn't see all the advantage of this place with the Bosphorus and the Golden Horn and strategic position, and he decided to settle down here. It's common to think about the western terminus of the Silk Road was Rome, but in fact, instead of the Rome, maybe new Rome, we can say the Constantinople was the very important with its location, and it ensured it's a very important role in the trade with the East and West, with the maritime and the roads on the Silk Road. Renamed Istanbul under Turks after the second Mehmet, he gained the city, we can say, and then the city became the capital of the great Ottoman Empire, and played a central role in the East and West cultural and economic exchange. Istanbul was the capital of both Byzantine Empire and the Ottoman Empire, as you know. Another important period in history for Istanbul was the colonies of the Republic of Genoa, Genoese colonies. They were very active on Mediterranean and Black Sea as well. During the greatest period of the expansion of the Genoese colonies between the 13th and the 15th century in the Middle Age, Istanbul was the very important station as well, with commercial and the military port. Today, it's a Galata region. You can see in some miniature and drawings, the Galata, and the other name is Pera. It was very important district on the Istanbul for the Genoese colony. And Galata was the financial center during the Ottoman Empire as well. Even in the early of 20th century, Galata housed embassies of European countries and sizable Christian minority groups as well. Regarding the cultural industries in Turkey, I'm going to mention about very briefly because very important, because recently our ministry prepared a report about the importance of the cultural industries and the creative industries in the economic and the employment of Turkey. I'm going to mention about some numbers. The share of cultural industries in GDP in Turkey, it's 288% in the period of including 2009 and 2011, and this indicates that the economic contribution of the cultural industry is about 2 and 5 points, and this is much higher than the share of certain sectors such as healthcare and the social service. And this is very important for Turkey in terms of the cultural production. And mainly this production comes from the Istanbul city. And also cultural industries contributed more to employment in Turkey. The contribution of the cultural industries to employment was much more higher than the finance and the insurance in Turkey. And Istanbul is the cultural capital of Turkey with its numerous of art galleries, museums, theaters, publishing houses, and singing societies. Here you can see some GDP statistics. Istanbul had the highest share of the gross domestic product with nearly 31 in 2019, the highest GDP per capita, and the highest share of in all economic activities, except for agriculture, forestry, and fishing, but the other service activities. And the service sector had the highest share in total of GDP of Istanbul, with nearly 33%. Now I'm going to mention about the railway, road, and maritime transport in Turkey briefly. Like Mr. Lewis mentioned, middle corridor is very important recently years because middle corridor is much more economical and faster than the northern corridor. You can see on the slide here the northern corridor and the middle corridor here. And here, this is the Baku-Tbilisi and Kars railway, which recently years it's inaugurated. And in 1 year, approximately 10 million containers that are transported from China to Europe, and 96 utilize the sea, and only remaining 4% uses the Trans-Siberian Railway here, and which is also called the Northern Corridor. But the middle corridor has more favorable climate conditions and shortens the travel time by 1/3, nearly 15 days, compared to the sea road as well. Furthermore, the middle corridor offers great opportunities to the cargo traffic in Asia, so that the loads can reach Middle East, North Africa, and the Mediterranean region by benefiting from the ports connections in Turkey. Another important component of the middle corridor was completed when the Baku-Tbilisi-Kars railway in 2017. And this BTK offers a new perspective of the uninterrupted trade between China and Europe, and has an initial capacity of 1 million passengers and 6.5 million tons of cargo, which is foreseen to be increased to 3 million passengers and 17 million tons of cargo per year by 2034. Furthermore, Turkey is undertaking various projects to revive the historical routes. In addition to the Caravanserai project that aims cooperation between customs authorities in the region within the framework of the middle corridor. For example, Marmaray Undersea Railway started to operation in 2013, and here Yavuz Sultan Selim Bridge. This is the third bridge in Istanbul on Bosphorus, Eurasia Tunnel, and Istanbul Airport. These are new projects on the Istanbul city. And also, we can mention about the Osman Gazi Bridge. You can see on the location on the map here, and it's shortened the way because you have to go this way to reaching to Istanbul, and you can use this bridge. And the other bridge project is on the Dardanelles in Çanakkale Strait, and it will planning to be open on in March of next year. Yeah. Here you can see the Turkey speed railway projects. Here the red line is completed lines here, and some of them is under construction now. And here also international road corridors in Turkey, you can see, mainly like the historical Silk Road, east and west direction. And also by coincidence, I had the same slide with Luis about the free zones in Turkey. And with the aim of the increasing and promoting export-oriented investment and production, 18 free zones have become operational in Turkey since 1985. And exemptions, as Mr. Lewis mentioned about it, are provided to the currently operating companies located in the free zones, such as corporate tax, real estate tax, value-added tax exemptions, and other duties and stamp privileges is to be reflected to companies which operate in determined sector in specialized in free zones. For example, R&D intensive, high-tech and high-value-added production of goods and services companies within the sector that are established in designated specialized free zones will also benefit rent incentives for their business premises and employment incentives for their qualified personnel. The share of the high-tech products in Turkey's total exports is 3.4%, while the figure in free zones is nearly 3 times that, at nearly 9%. The number of companies operating in Turkey's free trade zones stand at nearly 2,000. Nearly 500 of them are foreign capital. With foreign capital, their trade volume in 2020 was nearly $22 billion. To date, foreign capital companies have invested more than $2.5 billion in the zones. As the third largest city in Turkey and important business center as well is Izmir, with its large industrial and agricultural hinterland region, plays a vital role on the country's economic and export trade. The port of Izmir handles all types of cargo, and it is well connected to Turkey's rail and highway networks as well. Today, the port of Piraeus in Athens is one of the endpoints of China's Belt and Road projects by sea in Europe. By unloading its cargo at the port of Piraeus, China actually enters into the European Union territories directly with the railway and highway, because the 90% of the Piraeus commodities are reaching to the Central Europe by rail and highway. And the fate of the port of Piraeus now depends on the EU strategy that COSCO and thus China will determine as part of the Belt and Road Initiative. And there's a recommendation for the Turkish government regarding the connection to this railway route from the Izmir and this is project and under the project Chandarlı ports, connecting them by a railway and reaching this main line, because the structure of the Belt and Road Initiative is about the speeds and the economies of scale in transport. Within the scope of this strategy, strategy, China's port purchase and investments are critical. With its current structure, geographical structure, Anatolia, region ports are not suitable for the maritime strategies for the One Belt and One Road initiative. The production industry of this region feeds the ports at the only Asian region, like in the past. There has been no sea and land transit loads in Asian Sea since the past. We know that in the previous model, cargoes are transferred to the Central Europe by train, and China has been carrying out Belgrade-Budapest high railway project since 2014 in order to increase the transit times on this railway. In fact, we can connect the railway, which is currently between Izmir and Aliağa here, and to Tekirdağ, with nearly additional and 300 kilometers line with railway. And Turkey ranks fifth among European countries in terms of cargo tonnage at its ports. In addition, our ports are already transfer bases for Black Sea cargoes. In addition, we need to strengthen Central European rail links and our rail linked logistic bases. Being active on the One Belt and One Road initiative, both on the sea routes and on the railway, will create significant opportunities. Belt and Road initiative and Istanbul is an indispensable station for BRI initiative, Istanbul city, with its transport facilities, not only maritime, road or railway transport, but also airline transportation as well, with its new and biggest airport of Turkey. I wish to see you later in Istanbul for the next event, and thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Umut. I really enjoyed my time in Istanbul when I was passing by in 2018. I think I spent nearly 3 weeks in Istanbul, and well, I loved Turkey. But so concerning the questions, we are running a little bit behind schedule. So I think there might be quite some questions after Umut's presentation. But I suggest that we directly jump to the next presentation of Sava Meshe. And then we simply collect all the questions that come up and then directly go into the panel discussion. So Sava Meshe, it's great to have you with us. Sava was recommended actually from our partner, the BWA, the Federal Association for Economic Development and Foreign Trade. He's the general coordinator in Germany of the SETA Foundation. The SETA Foundation for Political, Economic and Social Research is a non-profit research institute dedicated to innovative studies on national, regional and international studies. And what I find very interesting is to have 3 so knowledgeable speakers now joining us. Sava, great to have you with us, and the floor is yours. You're still muted. Just a second. Yeah. No, still muted.
Exactly.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay, perfect. So, thanks for the invitation from Berlin. Good evening to the audience. And I'm happy to be part of this quite smart event, and for the opportunity to me given to me for a keynote speech. The theme of the SILKROAD 4.0 in Istanbul is production industrial cooperation. And we in the preparation we made some amendments to my speech with Don, with his recommendations. Thanks Don again. when it comes to production, industrial cooperation, I do understand production and industrial cooperation in its dimension, both global as well as national, which brings me to the title of my part of this event, Challenging Climate Change, a global task of trustful and sustainable cooperation of East and West. Well, there is a question mark, but indeed, actually the question mark is unnecessary because we are doomed to it, you know. Why? Because as you know, the ultimate goal of production and industrial cooperation is to sell what you produce in domestic or international markets. And for the access to the international markets, your product has to fulfill certain required standards and criteria in the target market. And here I come to the title of my part. Well, with the radically increasing awareness of climate change in the mindset of people and the public, activism of climate opponents in Europe, you know, Fridays for Future protests, for example, the EU has announced ambitious new climate targets, pledging to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 55%, I think, until 2030, and achieve then ultimately carbon neutrality by 2050. To help in a way to achieve these goals, the EU proposed implementing a carbon border adjustment mechanism. It's horrible, I know. I will call it CBAM now. In its well, this is it's a really very important aspect of the Green Deal of the European Union. The CBAM, again, for the last time, carbon border adjustment mechanism. You know, this CBAM would operate alongside the European Union emissions trading system. By the way, the bloc's flagship climate policy, it's the most advanced concept in the world, I would say. Also, in order to prevent carbon leakage, protect industry competitiveness, and safeguard the EU's new climate targets. What does it mean in practice with this CBAM? EU is concerned with it because Green Deal, there is a risk that either production is transferred from the EU to other countries with lower ambition for emission reduction, or that EU products are replaced by more carbon-intensive imports from third countries. And as the EU CBAM, you know, it's something like it controls the border for products who have a emission footprint, you know, and that's why they will make a payment on it in order to, as I mentioned, to protect the competitive surroundings in the European Union. And that's why the CBAM put a price on the greenhouse gas emissions embedded in goods imported into the bloc, into the European Union. And the mechanism will have a significant effect on both international trade and climate diplomacy. And the EU is convinced that this measure is proposed to be designed to comply with World Trade Organization rules and other international obligations of the European Union. But the US administration has already declared that they will not accept the application of CBAM unconditionally for American products entering the European market. Means the US administration will negotiate the conditions of CBAM with the EU. And as a consequence, third countries to whom the EU market is more than attractive for exports, among them, of course, the BRI member states, I would say that each country will sooner or later implement its own Green Deal in order not to pay the price on the greenhouse gas for export into the European Union. And it makes, of course, sense, because the earlier a third country implements a Green Deal accepted by the European Union, the more advantageous position it will gain among other competitors for the same products, increasing his market share in that way. Well, as a result, the Green Deal triggered by the EU, due to its market power, will most probably transform the industrial production and cooperation in countries in close trade relations with the European Union. So there is the link to BRI. And that means that the transformation of the process of production and its monitoring within the global supply chain system is a mammoth project. A key element of will be a sophisticated monitoring system in order to have an overview of the green of the emissions. Therefore, digitalization of economy and industrial cooperation will be a crucial undertaking. And also energy savings must be added in the supply chain. Why? Because over 85% of manufacturing energy use occurs before the factory making the final product receives the supplies it uses in its own end process. So that means from the supply chain management perspective, not only the end producer and the fabric manufacturer is important, but also the whole supply chain is important, because the supplier is already producing emissions. And the focus must be on renewable energy sources, of course, hydro, solar, wind, etc. So we need to focus on green supply chain management in the context of renewable energy sources. So if I look at the impact, and if I bear in mind that according to the figures from 2020, China's trade volume with the European Union was almost $700 billion. And also interesting maybe for you to hear from Turkey's performance. But Turkey's bilateral trade with the EU is less. It's not a surprise, but noteworthy, with $165 billion in the same year. That means understanding how the CBAM will impact China and Turkey, as they are EU's critical trading partners, is very important. And both countries have already announced their own carbon neutrality target. Especially China's perception of a potential response to the EU CBAM will have a significant impact on the mechanism's design and implementation. I mean, both countries, China and the United States, will try to make a different deal, more advantageous from their perspective. But I have the impression that the European Commission and the European Union in general, and the European Council and the European Parliament, the three institutions of the European Union, will be there will be a tough negotiations, because neither the institutions nor the public opinion in Europe is interested in tricky compromises when it comes to challenging climate change. And interesting about it is that maybe a bilateral Chinese-EU agreement on CBAM based on mutual benefit and for the sake of a better world will have a globally positive effect, because as I mentioned, the implementation of the Green Deal, it's a must for countries who are in engagement with the European Union in terms of trade. They have to transform their industry, their production, their industrial cooperation. They have to source out its inventory in terms of the usage of energy, and have to, at the end of the day, have to make their own Green Deal on national level in accordance with the criteria and requirements of the European Green Deal's CPAM. So this is what I can tell about it. I think it was a little bit shorter than I thought, but we can discuss in the question answer session about other issues relevant, how China and Turkey can cooperate on issues, or of course to look at in a broader global perspective. What is BRI? How the West reacts on BRI with their own concepts, etc. This is for the time, I would say, since it's already quite late. I will stop here. Maybe go into a discussion. It's much better. Come on.
Thank you, Safa. Yeah, I know. So because of the time, Professor Yang, as I mentioned, she's a professor and director of the China Business Studies Initiative at the University of San Francisco, the School of Management. Unfortunately, she has to also leave now for another very important meeting. But if okay for our last keynote speaker, Orhan Özer, I would like to quickly welcome Professor Yang to our group. And Xiahua, if you have a couple of comments to the last minutes, that would be a big honor to hear your thoughts on this topic.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, wherever you are. It's such a great pleasure to be here. I want to thank Philip for inviting me, and I want to thank my long-term colleague, Dawn, for getting me meet with Philip and others, and Harvey I met many years ago, who spoke at my research center's event with Dawn. Sorry, I couldn't see Harvey today. Yeah, first of all, I want to congratulate you, Philip, and your team for this event and all other event. And I salute to you for your courage for carrying on Silk Road 4.0 in this very intense, divided environment. Not everyone can do that, has courage. And I'm very impressed with that. And to me, Silk Road does not belong to one country or two countries. It belongs to the whole world. And Silk Road from 1,000 years ago benefited mankind, the whole world, and in its economic development, growth, and civilization. We're able to enjoy many things that we have today because of that social, global, and cross-border interaction from Silk Road. And of course, I understand, I was really impressed by the presentation I have heard and how we can revitalize, reconnect the Silk Road, the world. And we do have different environment. Today we have digital technology, no longer, steam engine, that kind of old technology. And so today's the nature of Silk Road is different, and we can link the world even more. And so this Silk Road Roadshow, I think is, will create tremendous impact on the globe and the global economy. And, during the last nearly 2 years, pandemic crisis, and, we actually heard very little about Silk Road from China, Asia side. But I know Philip continues. I would say this is really very significant, monumental project. And you will be more ready after pandemic resides, and it will, to connect the different parts of the world. And but we all have to be patient, and you never know what will happen next. But I think your work is important. It needs to be continued. And although I'm probably the only one from North America, I don't know where Dawn is now. Where are you, Dawn? Are you?
I'm in California right now. So.
Oh, okay. So you and I are in North America, and Dawn and I have written an article about two articles. One is international Journal of International Business Policy article, which is published this year, and another one published in a book. One is about digital, a part of it is about digital Silk Road. Yes, North America is not in the traditional, Silk Road in a sense, but today's world is all about digital world. So we are linked digitally, virtually. That's why I'm able to meet, old friends and new friends here today. The technology will allow us to be more interconnected. And I think that the Silk Road Roadshow has another very important mission. That is, how can Silk Road integrate more with UN 17 SDG? Dawn and I can attest to that because we study on it, and the sustainability is going to be part of Silk Road mission, Silk Road Roadshow 4.0 mission, to help in UN 17 SDG have not been very well implemented, to be honest with you. And I think it's not going to be a reaching goal because of the difficulty funding and many other factors. However, I think Silk Road can be one of the driving forces, help UN 17 SDG implementation or reaching the goal. So you have a huge monumental job to do here. We hope that there might be even more Silk Road, more, human mega program like Silk Road. But Silk Road itself is already here. And, as I said, it belongs to the world, doesn't belong to one country or to, a single countries. And it started that way and should continue to be this way. And I want people to understand that. So never translate Silk Road as China Silk Road. No, it's not. So it's the world Silk Road. And we should all embrace it, make the best out of it, and benefit the mankind, the global economy, the global society, global village. So thank you so much for allowing me to say a few words to introduce myself. I won't say more about myself, and I'm just a humble scholar, and I happen to run a platform called the China Business Study Initiative. It's a research center at the University of San Francisco, which is 166 years old, third oldest university in California. It's a Jesuit university. So we all talk about sustainability, social justice, equity, and so UN 17 SDG, it feels very much to us, and feel very much at home. So it's Silk Road, and the Jesuit came to China, 500 years ago. So it's always linking with the commerce with education, and we're just part of this whole thing. So to us, it's the second nature. So we're very happy, and we love to continue this conversation with you all, and certainly we'll be having conversation with Philip, Don, and others. So thank you for this opportunity, and I'm sorry I have to leave now for the other meeting, but I would love to connect with each one of you. I already connect with Richard and with Yildiz through LinkedIn. Thank you very much for the invitation. And so I'll say bye now. Thank you.
Thank you, Xiaohua. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
For those who want to reach out, I posted the LinkedIn profile of Xiaohua again. And so sorry for changing the program on such a short notice. A big sorry for Orhan Özer, but I thought it might be a good opportunity to introduce Professor Young to our group. And I think that's the point of SILKROAD 4.0, to connect different opinions, knowledge, geographies. And as Professor Young just mentioned, essentially connecting the world, I think, and accepting different opinions and discuss different opinions and different knowledge and different insights. I think that's the core of the Silk Road spirit. And I never understood Silk Road as a Chinese something like invention, because it always went both ways. It was connecting the East and the West. But coming back to the center of the Silk Road, so to say, Istanbul, our next speaker, it's also an extremely honor to have Orhan Özer with us. Orhan, you are based in Istanbul, is it right? So as you know, Istanbul, Orhan, you're still muted. Istanbul is actually the city.
Yes,
that
I am living in Istanbul at the Asian side.
Oh, okay. So we have a true Asian today speaking with us.
Yes,
That's lovely. A couple of words of Orhan Özer. He was the former general manager and CEO of Toyota Manufacturing Turkey. And Orhan, you were also the vice president of Toyota Motor Europe in Brussels, living in Brussels for quite some time.
6 years.
6 years. That's why you speak French. I saw you on LinkedIn profile, right?
No, my French is from high school.
Ah, okay.
Yes. Then in Brussels, of course, it is improved. Shall I start to say a few words?
Yes, please. Just directly jump in. It would be an honor to hear your insights and your thoughts about the West and the East and your experiences that you had with being in your company. Thank you, Orhan.
In fact, I am an industrial person. So very high thinking and philosophical thinking on the interactions of the facts is not so much my item. I am more materialist and more efficiency-based personality. So I asked Philip what to say if you ask me to make a speech. Then he gave me some topics and I can say also some potential questions. So on the basis of his guidance, I try to give some of my experience and some of my thoughts between East and West conditions and East and West environments. One of them was how is the difference in industry and in running industrial organization. My biggest perception in the difference is the lot of similarities, but in two areas. One is internally. The variance is mainly the discipline, the discipline that you feel, and the hierarchy in the Eastern companies are much more dominant compared to European and Western companies. So with that discipline and with the power of the more respect to hierarchy, the spirit of the team or the team spirit itself is easier to build and easier to motivate people with the team spirit. This may have many reasons. There may be some less job opportunities, less social securities in the Eastern companies than the Western companies. There may be some elements, but the fact is this. Externally, when we go and look at from outsider, Eastern companies has to spend more efforts to be perceived as successful. So if you are a British company or if you are a European company, you don't need as much as efforts as a Turkish company or as a Eastern company. In benchmarking, for example, we need to have some distinguished results and more important achievements. Maybe slightly or not slightly bigger relative variances compared to others in order to be well accepted and in order to be treated as a well performing. So better cost, better quality, better work safety results, so job excellence, so on, and more efficiency are the key elements to be respected by the Western companies for any Eastern companies. So this was one of the items that I wanted to share from the, let's say, from the field. And the most obvious challenge is the proving yourself, proving that your company is successful, is very dominant in Eastern countries. As I mentioned, operation indicators has to be not better, has to be remarkably better in order to be treated as the best or among the best. Another aspect or another inconvenience to be Eastern side because of the a lot of technological for the automotive industry, because of a lot of technological investment and part industry is located in Europe. Of course, there is a lot of investment in Turkey also, but part logistic also is another cost, additional cost, and is as well as cost time factor for us, especially when you need and when you have just-in-time concept. Just-in-time concept, you know very well that this is Toyota well-known concept. The stock levels are astonishing level, so unbelievable level compared to the other companies. Why I am saying so strongly? Because after I left Toyota or getting retired from Toyota, now I am board member in various companies, so I can compare. And when there is a discussion and when somebody asks what was the level in Toyota, if there is no inconvenience to say, I was saying, and everybody getting more than surprised about the performance indicators that I was seeing. So kind of another environment or another planet. In such condition, the stock level, 2 days stock you are running, for example, totally. But importing from Europe is adding a lot of additional burden on your stock levels and on your performance. To cope with this lead time increase means higher stock turnover rate and more cost for EU source parts because of the additional logistic cost. We had to compensate this disadvantage with our efficiency in processing cost. Of course, processing cost wise, because of the labor efficiency, because of the other elements of the cost, we were in a very advantageous condition. One more item in respect to the fairness in the inconveniences that I mentioned in the logistic cost, because of the policy and enjoying the single sourcing strategy, let's say, some other countries in Europe also, Europe is not one country, Europe also is a big continent. From one country to the other, also there need to be some logistic costs from, let's say, France to Poland, from Poland to France or UK, so on. Therefore, it does not mean that all the European countries was free of such high logistic costs. They were in a better condition than us, but still they were suffering. Not as much as we do, but they were. Another subject which Philip reminded me or guided me, let's say, whether we had some experience with China as Toyota Turkey. Yes, we had some direct business with China, and we had some press tie for our latest vehicle investment, and we produced some of the press ties in China because prices was very, very competitive, and the quality also, quality of the dies also very much acceptable. On the other hand, despite such a big advantage, we had to spend much more efforts and time for monitoring the activities and the cooperation of the production of the dies in China. This effort and this cost was a little bit higher than what we were spending when we do the same locally in Turkey, or when we do when we produce the same dies in Europe from European sources. But still, China source dies was, despite this additional cost, China source dies was competitive. The example that I said now, just producing the die, and die is not a small investment, as I can say, the image and the total value of the dies that has been done in China is something 70-80 million euro worth of investment. So it is not something negligible. And I have specific example, and this example is job order based experience. So job order based production and experience I had. I believe that for mass production items, China has much more ability and much more efficiency compared to our experience of the job order, let's say, business. Except language and difficult cultural difficulties, in Eastern countries, running a plant is less problematic than the West. This is now I am jumping from subject to the other, but I am trying to kind of question and answer type of preparation, and I am trying to follow that. So whether running a plant in the East is problematic or more difficult than compared to West, I believe that compared to West, running a plant in East is less problematic and easier because of the, as I said, the discipline and the respect, and easier to control the people, and easier to establish the team spirit. So this is also another subject that I want to mention. Joint venture, in respect to, in general, joint venture, Philip asked question, maybe is not so much relevant to Silk Road. So rather than giving or getting some time on this, I should skip. Respect to environment, with all aspect, is must for any manufacturing plant. Whether it is located east side of the world or west side of the world. Using natural resources such as water. Water is very critical for automotive industry. And treatment of the used water is main element for automotive industrial plant. For Toyota, our measurements, of course, we were measuring every day. Whatever the whatever the elements in our used water, which we are sending to the river next to us. So our water that we are discharging is cleaner than the river itself, or was cleaner than the river itself. So, and every day we were making the testing of the standard, and all our standards was all the time much lower than global standard level. CO2, of course, CO2 is the currently main, let's say, subject in the discussion of the electric vehicles and electric utilization of the mobilization area. For us, for the plant itself, CO2 was not an issue. Of course, the produced vehicles are mainly hybrid vehicles, which you know very well, half electric, half conventional vehicle. So in that respect, CO2 wise also, we were very efficient. There was a question related Toyota, Toyota whether has activities in free zones in Turkey. No, Toyota don't have any activity in free trade zone or free industry zone in Turkey. We had a plant of around 300,000 capacity, yearly capacity, which is almost fully utilized. We had, we did not have free zone, but we had bounded warehouse, which means we could keep some of our stock without paying custom duties until the utilization time. Let me share some opinion also out of the Philip questions, some opinion also about the Silk Road. So as far as I perceive, I am not expert, sorry, I can make easily wrong comments. And if I make wrong comments, I am ready to hear the right one to teach myself.
I like it.
As far as I see, Silk Road is now transforming more and more by direct investment to the countries on the road. China is making direct investment, or European companies are making direct investment on the countries on the road. Transportation capabilities and capacities increased a lot, especially sea transportation. And for the passage countries, obtaining benefit of this Silk Road, let's say, logistic logistic location of the country on the Silk Road was beneficial, but currently is not as good as that, because railway train goes away, then you don't feel anything, or the trucks. So therefore, there is now a passage fee for every country, that the countries are a little bit enjoying of being in that location. As far as I see, as I said, the direct investment in the production, as well as direct investment in the logistic area along the countries continuing together. Especially logistic on the Silk Road, these days, you are all aware that sea freight costs was 5 or 6 years ago around 2,000 euro per container. Now came around 15,000 euro. It depends. If you go spot, even higher. If you have long-term engagement, so it is cheaper. Then with such kind of sea transportation cost increased, then road, so Silk Road is getting more and more important. One of my friends, I think Umut Bey, Mr. Özdemir, in his presentation, he showed some investment in the country very well. He explained, and he showed also third bridge built in Istanbul. Third bridge main characteristic is able to have one railway on it. So this is a very big chance of railway connection without interruption. Currently by sea it goes, and also under the sea, but with Marmaray, but after midnight, sometimes occurring. But the one that I mentioned, or Mr. Özdemir mentioned on the third bridge, is continuous and no interruption railway dedicated for such transportations. These are all the items that I want to share with you, with some spotlights, let's say, but maybe coming from the ground, I can say. There are some, let's say, opposition thinking, which I can share with you, whether it is correct or not. I am not too much agreeing with such thinking, because trade and free trade, open trade is always better for the welfare of the world, welfare of the humanity. So some people think that if we increase so much the capability of the logistic, such as on the Silk Road, this will be an advantage for the faraway countries. Therefore, is it that way to go or not to go? I am totally against this opinion, but because we are talking everything here, I want to put something in your mind also as a potential questions or criticism which may come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Johan. I think it was a perfect inspirational statement at the very end. And I already saw in the chat that there were quite some questions coming up. But I want to mention a couple of things. Jens Bastian also shared a document in the chat, a paper that he published. And unfortunately, Safa Meje had to leave because he's now also having a TV interview. So that's why he left the conference here. But I'm happy to consolidate any questions to Safa, and I'm happy to send it over to him and then put it into our member briefing after the event. So this leaves me to close the official part of YouTube. So I'm saying a big thank you for all the people who were joining on YouTube, and I was just stopping the live stream now.